Empire. Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Conn Report wherever you get your podcasts. You're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, A-M-P-I-R-E. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I do have a story up now about has Terry McLaurin finally found the quarterback he can build a long-term rapport with. I talked to Terry for a few minutes about that. We've all talked to him about that. You can see Nicki Jhabvala here with me. I know she's talked to him about that before. But is number 11 the lucky charm or the lucky number for Terry McLaurin? Anyways, up on ESPN.com. Also, you Gold members doing a 6 o'clock private Zoom for you guys on Friday night. So if you're listening to this, tune in at 6 o'clock. There you go. Anyway, as you can see, I have Nicki here with me, so let's not waste any more time. Nicki, first of all, again, I'm going right for the cheap downloads and views. Where is he?
Hello, little man. Here, let me.
Come on. This is what the people want to see.
Yeah,
he's just
Julian? Chilling in his. Say hi, big guy.
What up, Julian?
Yeah, you say hi. Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Chilling in his little walker while yeah.
So, anyways, we were at the joint practice on Thursday. First preseason game coming up. Sorry, I had to check to make sure my recorder was going. Preseason game coming up Saturday. First of all, early takeaway from the preseason, from the joint practice. And one thing I do wonder, and I want to ask you, because we talked about this a lot yesterday when we were there, is this a reality check? But then I started thinking about it. There were questions we had going in. Are they the same ones we have coming out? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it showed. I don't think it showed anything we didn't know. Like, I was just talking to the junkies about this, and they had a question about, like, should we panic? Is this bad? No, I think it showed exactly what we thought. They have issues on the O-line. They need a kicker. The defense has a lot of good pieces, but it's going to take some time to kind of work through what they have and kind of figure things out on the back end, especially. I thought the rush looked decent. I think a couple of the players that have been exposed in recent years, just perhaps with some technique issues, were exposed again. Emmanuel Forbes. So I don't really think it showed anything surprising. I thought Jaden looked good. I think it has to be taken into context with what he was given to work with. He was running for his life a number of times. Okay. There were checkdowns because he was running for his life, and also checkdowns are not bad. Like, if he's making the right decision, and I felt like he was. So, yeah, I don't think it offered any surprises. I think there was maybe hope that, all right, maybe we could be pleasantly surprised and they look farther along, but they're not yet, and that's okay.
Right, and that's what I always point out. It was, August, now it's today, August 9th. And to me, this is, I think we've always talked, you always kind of have to separate where they could get to with this program versus where they're at right now. And there's two different things. And one can be a reason for optimism. One, there's the reality check, right? To a degree. I mean, I think that's what we saw yesterday. And then, so based on that, like, what would you look to see in the game Saturday? What is it that you want to see, need to see?
Well, I think you want to see more of the same from Jaden Daniels, sound decision making. You want to see that he's also not playing scared behind the line, because, I mean, I don't think they're going to have Andrew Wiley or Brandon Coleman in this game. Neither have practiced. I mean, Andrew Wiley hasn't practiced in team for the majority of camp, and Brandon Coleman has been out the last two practices. So I'd be very, very surprised if either is playing on Saturday. So he's going to be playing with a line with mostly reserves. So you want to see him to continue to make the good decisions. You want to see that line play a little bit better. It'd be nice if they actually had some depth at tackle instead of only having two starters and then, oh my gosh, now what? I'd like to see the defense start a little faster, because I felt like in the joint practice, they came on more in like the second half of practice. Every time we looked over there, it looked like somebody was getting beat or there were issues. But then by the second half, it looked like they were coming together. I really like that Mike Sanderson. I think he's a solid player, which is amazing after only 2 years at the position. So yeah, you just want to see them play together more. I know that sounds vague and cheesy, but honestly, that's what's been missing the most these last few years is, miscommunication, guys freelancing, just everything looking out of sync.
That sounds kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
And vague. But it is accurate though. And so the one thing that I would say too, that this is my concern with the O-line, there's depth concerns, which, can you get it all in 1 year? I don't know. You'd like to think you could develop it. We'll see. But my bigger concern, and I'm curious your thoughts on it, is just more, and I talked about some yesterday, but I want to hear your thoughts. The lack of cohesion from the starting group. Yeah. How much should that be a level of concern to you?
I mean, it is a level of concern, but how often has a starting group actually played together?
That's my thing. That's
I mean, because it's, they're still concerned about the left tackle job in general. Like, I think Brandon Coleman has shown a lot of promise. He surprised me. I think, and you hope it continues when, it's live action, because he has not seen live action against another opponent yet, since he didn't participate in this joint practice. So they're still concerned about that starting job. And then after the starting five, I feel like there's concerns across the board. I mean, there's no depth. And honestly, when Washington's line has played the best over the last 4 years, which I think was in 2020, when they were dealing with so many injuries up front, the depth of the line was tested and they held up. Like, they did really well. Like, everybody was prepared, it seemed. They were developed. I know I know some coaches were odds with like Matsko. I mean, clearly he wasn't a fit after last year for whatever reason, but I like Matsko. That line was always prepared and it was deep. This one, you hope you have a starting five, and beyond that,
you don't know. And I think, but one thing that Matsko did, and I'll be curious to see how this group does this, because I know Darnell Stapleton, that was, as we've heard, that what they like about him is ability to help develop linemen. Yeah. And so like that's where his strength. Matsko did a really good job of getting those guys prepared, and with through little quizzes and things like that, and really engaging them in meetings and not letting them just sit there. There was a lot of engagement. You saw them working before and after practice and all that. That can take a minute to build up. So I'm curious to see where it gets to with this group, if you can get to that point, because it is still early. But I just wonder, Coleman and has not played a whole lot next to Nick Allegretti, and Wiley's been out, and so there's just that. And I know, fortunately for he and Cosme have played together, that helps. But Allegretti and Biada still kind of working together, so it does. That's my concern too. Will they have enough time together? When does that cohesion begin? Right.
Yeah. I mean, Cosme's the glue of that line. I mean, he's the one that's been here, over the last 4 years, and he's a very good player. And even he's missed time with an illness. So I mean, I've seen lines that haven't played a snap before the season opener. It usually doesn't go well. If you have a really good quarterback, he can mask some of the deficiencies up front. And I know you're going to make fun of me because it was Denver, but this was that Super Bowl year. But that starting offensive line didn't play a single snap together before the preseason opener. They held their own, and this was when Peyton was a shell of himself, really. But they held their own, in part because he masked some of that. Now, can Jaden, as a rookie, do that? I think he's a very fine player. So far, I think he's been impressive. Has he been flawless? No, I don't know that any quarterback is, but he also hasn't seen so much. He hasn't seen all the looks defenses have given him. So is he going to be able to mask some of those deficiencies if the line needs it? That's a hard ask for a rookie quarterback. That's putting even more on his plate.
It is. And he can help regulate with his legs, of course.
Yeah.
Peyton's going to do it with right now. He's seen so much. He can just, okay, this is it. Blah, blah. That's going to take a minute for Jaden, but at least he can buy time. And that's what the hope for a guy with his skill set offers to be able to play right away. In addition, he did well from the pocket, et cetera, but the legs are going to really help that. For the entire month of August, the Adventure Park at Sandy Spring is offering multiple ways to save on climbing and zip lining and 50% off axe throwing. There are only a few Sundays left without football, so it's time to get that last summer adventure on the schedule. There's no better place to spend the last few days and nights of the summer with friends and family. Don't just take our word for it. The Adventure Park at Sandy Spring was named the #1 aerial adventure park in North America by USA Today. Anytime you're thinking about reaching new heights, make sure you know before you go. The Adventure Park at Sandy Spring is the only ACCT accredited park in Maryland or Virginia. So there you have it, folks. For the rest of the summer, you can get the best climbing, zip lining, and axe throwing in the country, up to 50% off right here in the DMV. Reserve your adventure today at www.theadventurepark.com/Kime. How much do you think Jaden should and will play Saturday?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't want to see him play too much, especially if he doesn't have that starting line in front of him. So if he gets a series or two at quarter, great. Like, I think the good thing with him is he has played quite a bit. It's been in college. That's not always a translation to the NFL. But it's balancing that risk versus reward at this point. If he had a starting 5, I'd say maybe you could let him go a little bit longer, but you can't risk anything with him. You can't. And Quinn indicated that all 4 quarterbacks will play. How much he didn't specify, but I'd be fine with a couple series to a quarter at most. I don't. Yeah.
Who are you then? Who's on the radar for you to see, whether it's based off camp in a good way or a bad way? Based off camp, based off the practice yesterday, who's on your radar? Who are a couple guys on your radar for whatever reason?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see how Forbes looks again. I mean, we've seen him play. We've seen him enjoying practices. I think the general view of him is there's been more mistakes than positive plays. Can he start to consistently clean those up? I mean, preseason, it's limited time, but you want to see some of those. Can he be an actual factor in the secondary? But I'm also looking at the spots where there's competition for jobs. Like I'm looking at the receivers too. Like to me, the true number 3 spot. I mean, Luke McCaffrey will make the roster, but who's the true number 3 at receiver is still so unclear to me. Like, is it Zacchaeus? Has Diami shown enough? Has Bryson Tremaine earned a roster spot at this point? Like, who's really going to show out in these preseason games? Because that position, especially, I feel like this is when roster spots are won. You've seen it so many times. So I think that could be really interesting. I'm trying to think, Jamin. I want to see, can he really come on as an edge guy? I mean, I think this is the position that was suited for him from the outset. And they're trying to, I guess, sort of force him into middle linebacker because they needed that. And they drafted him in the first round to be that, which a stretch. But can he really hold his own on the edge? Can he make some game-changing plays there? I'm trying to think, going back, the secondary, I want to see how those guys work together. I mean, there's a number of guys that really need to have really good preseasons to stand out. Derek Forrest, if he's healthy. I don't know that he's healthy enough to play at this point, but once he is, he needs to stand out. Percy Butler, these are, again, all draft picks from the previous regime, but they really have a lot to prove in trying to earn their roster spot.
And I kind of look at that. I want to see how Forbes responds to Thursday, because you're going to get, you're going to have a game, you're going to have moments, games, et cetera, like that. The hard part is he's coming off the year that he had.
Right.
And, yet in some of those plays, he was just beat. And, I think clearly Julian wants to see him as well. So, so I think just how does he respond? And then I want to see, like, where for Davis, the growth that he has at end. That's a hard transition. It is hard. I don't know what he's shown, but what I do know is, as you know this, like coaches are reluctant to give up size and speed.
Right.
And that's why I think Diami's been working as a third receiver, Butler as a third safety, but does that mean they hold those positions? We don't know. It's like you want to see what they can do in those spots.
Right.
You know, so, but I am really curious on Jamin because of when he was drafted and because of the position, you know, what do they do with him? Have you seen a lot from him, or what have you seen from him?
I've not seen a lot from him. And I honestly, I feel like he's looked in many ways like a rookie at a new position.
Yeah.
But he's in year 4 and playing for his career at this point, you know. He needs to show out at that position to really earn a spot, because now they have depth on defense. So yeah, I haven't seen a lot. I think especially for that position, you're kind of looking for those splash plays, you know, like that really stick with you. Like, okay, this guy has it. Now how do we get it out of him consistently? I haven't seen those yet. I think we saw him in spurts last season, though. I mean, he did have some game-changing plays. It's just it was so hit or miss.
I like when I've seen from him the most is what we saw last year when he's able to use that speed.
Yeah.
So it's more like the lateral speed really, really shows up. And still, like you put him on a game, I think that's going to be a strength right now. But you want to see how does the get off improve, because I think this is still an experiment or still a work in progress. And you want to see how that comes, or just whether it's, you know, can he get the corner when it's a one-on-one,
right?
Or is he going to have to rely on some of the lateral quickness to get inside? And so like those are going to be some of the things that I'm curious to see with him. And then, you know, I'm with you. Like I like Samra still. I think he's done a nice job. He had a nice hit yesterday.
Hey, it's Bram Weinstein here, voice of the Commanders, and of course, frequent guest of this podcast, The John Keim Report. I wanted to let you all know that my show, which airs at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on ESPN 630, is now exclusively produced by Empire Media, my company, and is going to be distributed through our network. So I'm asking you, please, if you subscribe to this show and love this show, give mine a try as well. Subscribe to the Bram Weinstein Show wherever you get your podcasts, and many of the shows and many of the elements that are in the show will be available on the Empire Media YouTube channel. We're going to talk a ton of Commanders and other DC sports. Check it out.
The other guy, and I don't know how much we're going to see him, is Frankie Louvu. I don't know how much those guys are really going to play in this game.
Yeah, probably I don't know. Like, you really need to play Bobby Wagner in this game.
No,
I don't think you do.
And I don't think you need to play Louvu either, to be honest.
No,
but you know, and I'm going to wonder about if I'm John Allen, I see them out, I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I'm raising my hand too.
Oh yeah.
Then it's going to be like Terry McLaurin's going to see it. It's like, wait a minute. So you're going to. So I'll be curious to see how much they actually play, especially after yesterday. They did get, as Dan Quinn said, you know, the more guys played yesterday, the less they play on Saturday. So is there—
Do you think Johnny Newton plays?
When?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a question too. And I think he can help, but we don't know when he's going to—
wondering, he didn't play in the joint practice, you know, and I agreed with that decision, you know, with the inclement weather. You don't want to—
No.
He's still just working his way back. So do you think he's cleared? Do you play him in this game?
No, I'm going to guess
on that turf field at MetLife that everybody loves.
Well, and also I'm going to guess after not practicing this week that the answer is no.
Yeah.
So you know, but I mean, because I don't see the value for him in that, and for them, and what are you going to be able to learn from him in that after he's been so disrupted? I'm going to be trying to get him ready for the opener
I would agree.
more than this game, and so you know, we'll see, Nicki. I mean, I don't know. What's a good outcome for this, and then you know what's
looking
a good outcome?
Competent, looking in sync, looking like you're on the same page in all 3 phases, because I thought all 3 phases struggled in the joint practice. I thought the defense turned it on later, but I think the start, the offense looked out of sync and kind of stayed out of sync for the practice. The defense got it together. They still need a kicker. That's not news.
No, they do. And I've always thought, and not revelatory here, that the new kicker, or the next kicker, is somebody who could be released in late August.
Yes,
because there are a
he'll
couple
be
teams
a waiver wire claim after rosters are trimmed.
And if nothing else, they'll come in for competition. I would be shocked if that doesn't happen. And then, you know what else I want to see? Last thing here, then, I want to see, how does the run game do? What's going there? How do Biotish and Allegretti kind of look? Yeah. Does Cosme play? I don't know. And, but how does that interior look? Because we know there are questions in the outside, and they're going to be questions after tomorrow because they're not going to have their unit, out there. So that's the other thing that I want to see as well. So,
no, I agree with you. I'm curious if we'll see enough snaps to really get a feel of how they plan to use Eckler and B-Rob. I'm not sure that we will. And I'm worried it might be taken out of context based on how they are used. So pump the brakes on that. But yeah.
That could well be. And I still think like there's a good role for both of them and a complementary role for both of them.
Totally.
I've never bought into their having this major competition because they fill different roles.
Totally.
So,
yeah.
And even then the pass rush, like how does a guy like Javonte Jean-Baptiste look? I think he may be a guy, more for the practice squad at this point, but man, the dude has length. And he had a couple nice moves yesterday. So anyway, Nicki, any last thoughts? Let's wrap it up. I know you got your hands full there. He's crawling over.
Yeah. Do you want to chime in? Do you have anything? No.
I think he does. So what are you going to look for then? We'll just jump ahead. Last thing, looking for next week after this week, going into the Dolphins joint practice.
Yeah. I want to see consistency. I mean, especially from Jaden, which we've seen all camp. And I say that not as, this is something he really needs to improve. We've seen that all throughout camp. You just want to see it continue. The offensive line cohesion, like you said. And you want to see that the offense can produce. I mean, it sounds simple and stupid, but, just produce. Don't always stall out on 3rd and 4th downs, like something we've been missing for a long time.
It's been a minute since that's been the case. Anyways, Nicki, why don't you get 10 to Julian? And thanks a lot for joining me. As always, appreciate it. So, and everybody listening, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you Saturday after the game. I'll be back with Brian Weinstein, the voice of the Commanders, talking about the first preseason game. Finally, games to talk about. Thanks, Nicki.
Thank you.